temple of Wat Lahan, right, was officially documented as having been built in the year 2354 Buddhist Era in Mu 8, in Tambon Lahan, in Ban Kaay in Rayong. Before it was named as a temple, it was a residence for the Sangha, so kind of like a Samnak Song, a Sangha office. And slowly they began to build guti huts to live in, and the Vihan shrine, the Vihara, which comes before it's a temple, or you have a Uposatha shrine room, building chapel. You build the Vihan, a small shrine room for praying in. And it was originally once given a temple name known as Wat Raiwari, until they say, in some books say that in 2517 it was given the name Wat Lahan Rai, but actually the official documentation that I've found says that it was changed in 2515, which was the reason for the release of the 2515 edition. Yeah. If not, then... and it's very strange because the 2517 Kun Pen Pim Leg, small model, says Wat Raiwari on the back of it, which means they didn't make a block press for the new name of the temple, and that block press existed when it was called Wat Raiwari, which means before 2517, which destroys everything that the Tapajan so-called experts say that Kunpan was not made before 2517. But because books and documentation of the temple says they changed the name from Wat Raiwari to Wat Lahan Rai in 2515. But the documentation I have before me to help me just get dates right and stuff, it's a documentation from the Tapajan people, influenced at least. And it says that they changed the name in 2517 so that it fits with their fake kunpans that they made, which are made out of plaster, and Luang Pu didn't make. And they weren't even in the list of allowed amulets which Luang Pu Tim signed, the Pra Kroo Pawanapirat and coins and stuff. But there was no kunpan in the list. And so the kunpan was made before, proved by the presence of the words Wat Raiwari on the Pimlek. So, whenever it was to change the name, 2515, or, as some liars like to say, 2517, we started to have, of course, abbots. So, this is really silly. So, the abbots of silly how the documentation is, because it's not accurate. So I have to see through it, because I lived in Ban Kaay near the temple for some time, and spent a long time talking with old locals. So, the first abbot of Wat Raiwari, not Wat Lahan Rai, wasn't changed yet, was Luang Phor Sangkh Tao, which is, of course, the Kroo Ba Ajarn of Luang Pu Tim for Wicha. And the second abbot was Luang Phor Dang. The third abbot was Luang Phor Gaet. The fourth abbot was Luang Phor Singh. The fifth abbot was Luang Phor Juam. The sixth abbot of Wat Raiwari was Pra Kroo Pawanapirat, and we all know who that is, Luang Pu Tim Issarigo, who was abbot from 2450 BE to his passing in 2518. And so becoming abbot would already be reason to make amulets. So we can assume that from the year 2450 up until his passing in 2518, he made amulets, which means he made amulets for 67 years before the Siantapajant experts made their 2517 funded edition at the temple and took them all back to Bangkok to sell and gave Luang Pu and the temple some donations and took all of the amulets to put in their books and overprice and stuff, and then denied that Luang Pu ever made any kunpan before the last year of his life, when he'd spent 50 years as abbot of Wat Lahan Rai Temple. So, Luang Pu Tim Pra Kroo Pawanapirat, his official name, was originally called Tim, as his real name, with the surname Ngam Si. So his real name was, as a little boy, was Tim Ngam Si, and he was born in Mu Tu, in Ban Tung Ta Budtr, in Tambon Lahan, in Ban Kaay in Rayong, so quite close to what would become the temple later. And he was born on a Friday in the 7th lunar month, and in Budtr. This is the astrological animal. He was born on the 5th month, January, March, April, May, on the 16th of May in 2422 BE. And his father was called Mr. Jai, and his mother was called Mrs. In. He had 3 siblings, and Luang Pu was first ordained on Saturday, on a Saturday, on the 7th phase of the moon, rising moon, in the 6th lunar month, which is Mokaragum Pamina Mesa Mituna, very much April, May. It's on the 7th of May, 2449 BE, in front of the temple wall, the Puttasima of Wat Lahan Yai. Wat Lahan Yai is not Wat Lahan Rai. It's about 5 kilometers away from Wat Lahan Rai, and it is the temple of what we now know as Luang Pu, who we now know as Luang Pu Sin, who also is Looksit of Pra Kumpan, Kumpong Prai Kuman, of course. So he was actually ordained at Wat Lahan Yai, which is the temple of Luang Pu Sin, with Pra Kroo Khaw of Wat Tapma as his Upachaya Ordaining Officer, and Pra Ajarn Singh, who was his Pra Anusawanajarn, which means like his witness, and Pra Ajarn Gaet, who was his Pra Gamma Wajajarn. It's your prompter. It means if you forget the memorization of the ordination chanting, he might just give you a little prompt of half a word, like api, api, just to keep you going if you forget, because you have to memorize about almost an hour of Pali chanting, answer questions and answers and stuff, which I had to do when I ordained, and it was very difficult. I managed it, but I had to be prompted about 3 or 4 times as well. It's hard to remember an hour of Pali Sanskrit. So once Luang Pu ordained, then in 2449, 68 years before the Sian Tapajan, the Samakom Tapajan, say he made his only edition of amulets. He was ordained, and he became an abbot in 2450. This is ridiculous. He was making amulets for over half a century before the famous kunpan of the Tapajan came out. And they're trying to say that he never made amulets during that half century before as abbot of the temple. That's absolutely ridiculous. So what remains now is I've got Luang Pu Tim amulets from about 2499, from just very early, from about the turn of the 25th Buddhist Era century, 2500 and stuff, and 2505. But I've seen some look older, and what is obvious is that Luang Pu Tim has amulets that have not yet been publicly discovered, in quotes, because they have been discovered. They're owned by somebody, but not documented. So we have a half a century of amulets, or at least a good 30-40 years of amulets before 2515 from Luang Pu Tim that we need to find. We need to define them, because no way was he abbot of a temple for 68 years and he only made some Kunpan and some Prakring and other ones after 68 years of being the abbot of a temple? Sorry, I don't believe that. So Luang Pu began, after his ordination, to to study Puttakom, Wicha and the Vinaya of the monks, the laws of being a monk, and Puttakom, the Buddha magic. You have black magic, Buddha magic, white magic, grey magic. Okay, so you have white magic that uses Buddhist incantation is Buddha magic. And he learned the basics from Pra Kroo Khaw of Wat Tapma, his Upachaya, and he learned from a lay master, some various lay masters, Yom Rod, Mr. Rod, and Yom Rum, Mr. Rum, and Ajarn Sai. So it's Ajarn Rod, Ajarn Rum, and Ajarn Sai, who Karawat, Ajarns, white Ajarns, who were very famous for very powerful Wicha Akom magic. After that, Luang Pu Tim continued studying Wicha Puttakom that he received from Luang Pu Sangkh Tao, which is where we come to the legends, the Tamnan of the Wicha Pong Prai Guman, the Prai Guman powders. The other thing was Luang Pu Sangkh Tao was actually his real grandfather, of Luang Pu Tim. So of course he had that intimacy to get the Wicha as well. And apart from that, Luang Pu of course went to many great masters to learn and exchange Wicha, of which there are too many to list and are not listed because he didn't tell everybody where he went all the time, right? Neither do I. So in the year 2478, which is still 39 years before the Siantapajad said that he was suddenly famous and made one edition in his last year of his life, he already received royal recognition. In 2478, he got the Samanasak, which is a royal recognition, or the elevated position of being the Pra Kroo Shan Patoan. So he was elevated in status, and in 2507 he got the Samanasak to be Pra Kroo Sanyabat. So this was already becoming a royal monk already, and Pra Kroo Pawanapirat. So he got two names already. He already got three statuses. After that, he, of course, spent many years, which we have to dig up. I have to now dig up from 2449 BE to the sorry, my screen just went dark while I was recording. I have to dig up from 2449 BE to 2505 BE, because I know back to about 2505 his amulets. So now I've got 55 years preceding that to find his earlier amulets and present them, because nobody has. And you have to think about that, 2518 he passed away. 2517 The Pra people financed a large edition without Kunpan, even though they made some themselves back in Bangkok out of plaster and put them there, but it wasn't on the list of their official edition signed by Luang Pu Tim with permission. He didn't give them permission for Kunpan. Why? Well, I would assume that maybe he's been making them from his ordination in 2499 BE up to 2515 BE when they changed the name of the temple to Wat Lahan, right? And after that, maybe he didn't want to. I don't know. But what I do know is the 2515 celebration of the change of the temple. They made Kunpan and released, and the big ones had the new block press with the name of the new name of the temple, Wat Lahan, right? But the Pimlek didn't. They didn't make the block press. So they used the block press from previously, and that's why it says Wat Raiwari, which was the name of the temple before 2515. It wasn't changed in 2518, it was changed in 2515. They didn't change it because Luang Pu Tim was going to die. They changed it because, I don't know. I don't know why they changed it. Yeah, that's another thing I have to find out, why they changed it. I know they changed it, I know when they changed it, I've been to the temple, I've checked with the Gamma Khan, but what I forgot to ask is why they changed it. Why? Why change the name of a temple anyway? Wat Raiwari, Wat Lahan, right? I really don't know. Why would you change the name of the temple? I don't know. It's actually silly, isn't it? But anyway. So, yeah. I will go on the next time to talk about Luang Pu Tim's biography. But I don't want to do it yet because I want to study and see if I can find out when he made some of the early era amulets and stick them in with the dates throughout his biography. So see if I can make a new biography. And before that, the next one, I'm going to make a talk, hopefully, which will have slideshow, yeah, instead of still thumbnail, so that I can show you different amulets and images of Luang Pu Tim, proving he actually did make amulets, because there's books by the people who say he only made in 2517 and then died in 2518, and he never made any earlier editions, and then they release a book with his first coin, which is 2510 BE. Which is also the other really stupid thing, is that the first edition, Luang Samanasak, that he got elevated status again as a monk in 2510 to celebrate his elevation to be Pra Kroo Sanyabat. In 2510 they made a coin to celebrate that. And in the books they say when he became Pra Kroo Sanyabat, they say in 2507. So there's a lot of inaccuracy, because I have lots of books, but I have one book in front of me in the moment just to look for dates, and I'm already seeing strange things, yeah. Because in 2478 he became Pra Kroo Sanpatuan, so he was elevated in status in 2478. Yeah, that's 22 years before 2500. Yeah, and it's 39 years before he passed away. He wasn't making amulets. I've got really, really old photos here from before that where you can see him making amulets. It's ridiculous. So anyway, Pra Kroo Sanyabat, he had that already in 2507 and in 2478. And then there's nothing. In the book I have in front of me, that's what in 2478 he was awarded this status, and then it's in 2507 he was given another status, but he wasn't given in 2517. There was nothing special to celebrate in 2517. So what's all this 2517 BE edition? Because the Pra experts, it took them till the last year of his life to find out about him. That's how much they don't leave Bangkok and stay in their little shops in the Pantip, waffling away to millionaires, selling something for $1 million, pretending they know everything about the monk and the temple, when actually they've never been there because they don't have time. They're sitting in the Pra talking to customers all the time. Whereas I don't sit talking to customers all the time. Unfortunately, I'm a hermit, and everybody knows it's really hard to get in touch with Ajahn Spencer. But that's why. It's because I don't have time to sit there talking bullshit all the time, or to one person. I have time to publish something that 100 people can listen to, like this. And I have time to study my amulets and the authenticity, and study and study and study. And I have time to go to temples and find out for myself, instead of standing in my shop waffling and talking as if I knew, as if I'd been there all the time, which is what the Tapajant do. And it's why the only society I will not make certificates for customers is the Tapajant, because it's a lying mafia that set itself up half a century ago and has been holding itself and bullying any other true society. And most societies are not true. They're just there to make authenticity certificates for $20 to $50 each and sell them to you. But who's authenticating it? Somebody like me, somebody like you, with different levels of knowledge. So how do you know his level of knowledge? He doesn't have a PhD or a doctorate from a university in amulets to prove it. What he's got is a certificate he's made himself. So it's all a matter of personal trust. Do you trust the knowledge of the person who you are buying from? Me? I don't trust the Tapajant, because firstly they sell everything 10 times more expensive than it should be. I sell a kun pen for anything between $1,000 to $2,000 for a Luang Pu pen, Luang Pu Tim, with certificate. Not that it's worth anything, because the person who made it doesn't really know. He knows less than me. Really does know less than me, and I'm arrogant enough to say that. He knows less than me. I've made 100 certificates once, and I sent 12 back, and I had to tell the judges what it was, because they got it wrong. I had a Sangwan Takrut of Platapian, barbfish Takrut necklace. And they said it was Luang Phor Tim, who does do a Takrut like that, yeah. But it wasn't. You know the fish design, and it was folded, silver fish, like an origami fish. There's only one master did the origami Platapian, and that was, well, there's a lot do them. You can make them out of parchment and stuff, but the solid silver ones folded as a necklace, there's only one monk that did that, the origami ones, and that was Luang Pu Rien of Wat Bang Rahong. So I sent that back. So I've actually got 12 certificates in my house, double. I've sold some of them with the real certificate which I had corrected, and I kept the certificate which had it wrong. I was arrested, actually, in the doorway of my airplane returning from Singapore, and one of the possible reasons, I thought, was because I came out on Facebook criticising a certain amulet society and embarrassing them, and they were all very powerful cops as members of the society. I went to see my son in Singapore, and it was about a week after making the critique on Facebook, and they saw it, that I exposed how they'd got it all wrong, and they didn't know what the duck they're talking about. And all of a sudden I got arrested by 6 police in black uniforms. I didn't get arrested because there was no arrest warrant. They just dragged me out of the doorway of the plane under the airport in Bangkok, kept me in a car in a sugarcane field at gunpoint for an hour, and then tried to frame me by charging me with a fake attempted murder case to put me in life for prison or have me executed. All because I'd criticised a society that doesn't know what they're talking about. So be careful when you mess with these societies, because most of them are powerful policemen, and they like to sell amulets, fake or real, because they don't really give a fuck. Truck. Sorry, I wanted to monetize this podcast on YouTube, and I just said duck with an F. Anyway, maybe YouTube might not get it. It's just light. Anyway, so that's it. Wat Lahan Rai, a little bit about Wat Lahan Rai and Luang Pu Tim to lay the carpet for what is coming later. but he didn't make in the last year of his life. For example, the Rup Muen Nua Pun Pasom Pong, the first edition Busha statue, was made in 2516. Yeah, and they made various versions. I'm looking at one right now, actually. So 2516, the people who say he never made anything before 2517 show in their books stuff from 2516. So the Busha from 2517 is made out of metal. That's because the investors of the Tapajan came. So it's a very nice Busha statue, though. And the Pra Geng Jeen Temple 2517, so expensive, yeah. But the thing is, there's Pra Geng Jeen Temple made before 2517, which these people don't accept. And in their books, to be honest, in their books, some of the 2517 pictures they put in their catalogues, meaning the Tapajan people, are not 2517, they're older amulets. Yeah. The 2517 Pra Geng is noticeable for a little bubble it has between the fingers, whereas other ones don't. You can hear me turning pages because I'm looking at some right now. And you'll have with different inscriptions on the bottom, the Gon O and the Gon E. And I think there's also Upachaya Wat as well. The Gon O and the Gon E. But I'm looking at one now, it's claimed to be 2517, and it has the code Salah stamp, the Salah stamp, which is actually, it looks like a crown, but actually it's the Upachaya temple roofs and windows. It's a silhouette of the temple. And that is stamped on the back, on the bottom, and on the back the code Metga, which are code stamps that were made before 2517. So a lot of the amulets I see in the 2517 BE Tapajant people who deny previous amulets are actually the previous amulets. And the presence of the code Salah stamp is absolutely ridiculous. And then also he made Upachaya Wat, which is the tiny version of Pra Geng, like a tiny version, good for ladies, 2517. And before, it made before. But the 2517, they're expensive because the Sian Tapajant made them expensive with their documentation, because all of the previous amulets from 2499 to 450, when he became abbot of Wat Raiwari, later Wat Lahan Rai, that is 67 years before the final edition. Yeah? So where are all the amulet editions? They didn't document it. They didn't catch it. They caught the last year of his life, made an edition, made him famous. Yeah? He was already famous in the area for his abilities, his psychic powers were known. But the Sian Tapajant, it took them 67 years to find out about him and rushed to make an edition before he passed away. That's how much they stay in their little hidey holes in Bangkok, pretending to know. But to know, you have to get out there to the temples, to the people, to the local area and learn. And these people don't do that. They're wearing suits. They drive fancy cars. I don't. I drive fancy bikes. And I don't wear a suit. Not that that's anything to do with it, no. They drive cars from work to home, home to work, work to home. And they don't go to temples because they're embarrassed when the monk sees them because of all the bullshit they've been telling about the amulets of that monk, which isn't true. And they dare not go to the temple. That's the truth. Don't share this with any Tapajant people. Have already been arrested and kidnapped by corrupt cops once. So don't share this with them. That's how evil they are. Same as Sakyant with Ajahn No. Same. He's evil. He's had people killed before, so stay away from Ajahn No as well for Sakyant. He's a very evil criminal, and the people around him. There's nothing auspicious about that place. There is murder involved in that place. Stay away from Ajahn No, yeah, and stay away from the Tapajant because you'll be overcharged, sold a fake, told it's true, and your real amulets, you'll be told that they're fake. So stay away from those people. The Tapajan, you stay away from them if you know what's good for you. And the other one I said, stay away from that as well, because that's where you're going to fall. And those are the liars, because all they know is 2517. They don't know nearly 70 years of the abbot of a temple before that. Oh my God. 67 years of Luang Pu Tim, and all they've documented is the last year, and then have the cheek to say that 7 years before that, in 2510, he released his first edition coin. In 2510. That's accepted by everybody, even Tapajan. But they say he never made anything before 2517. But they'll sell you a 2510 coin, first edition, which I have one actually. Anyway, I'll sign off because I was just looking now at a Upachaya Wat in solid gold from 2517, not my favourite year edition, and just realised yesterday I was at my wife's shop on the street and I saw a little Chaya Wat and I picked it up and I noticed it had a O on the back and a little stamp on the back, and I just realised now she has accidentally picked up somewhere a solid gold. I suspect she's picked up a solid gold Upachaya Wat Chinaban from Luang Pu Tim. So I'm going to have to rush and go find it now. So I'm going to drive to my wife's shop and go get it, because the picture I'm looking at right now is telling me, oh my God, maybe we just picked up a solid gold Upachaya Wat Chinaban in solid gold of Luang Pu Tim. So I better go check. So that's the end of this talk, which I don't know how to title because it talks about various things, but I think I'll title it Wat Lahan and Luang Pu Tim Part 1. Okay, Ajahn Spencer for the Buddha Magic Project and Thai Amulet Knowledge, signing off.